Hey, what's up, everyone? Big video today. So Mir just got back from EGX London. He was able to play test Street Fighter 6 and give his impressions already. That video is up on the channel. But now we're going to get into the nerdy stuff because Mir also did a ton of testing. He was able to thoroughly test Street Fighter 6 and get some answers to some things before this beta is out. I'm really interested to hear, Mir, what you found out. So Mir, take it over from here.
All right. Well, I guess I'll start with a little preface first by saying that it was a little bit hard to test some things because obviously a lot of people were trying to get their games in and, you know, we didn't have a lot of time to just have the setups for ourselves. And we had no trading mode, so we had to do it in a match. Unfortunately, I found out really late about a little trick that we could have used. There's the little handicap setting in the game, right? And if you set that to the max, you regenerate health over time. So that would have been convenient, I guess, but we didn't use that.
Oh man, that's too bad. That would have really helped.
Yeah, but I mean, aside from that, obviously we still have the data here, so let's go straight into it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is drive impact, because everyone's talking about drive impact, right?
Big topic, Mir. Always will be.
Yeah. I guess one of the first things we tested is if you can combo into the drive impact, and so if you can combo into the wall splat. Most of the time you cannot even combo into your drive impact unless you have some kind of extra frame advantage. So like, for example, a drive rush or a counter hit or a punish counter or whatever. And if you do combo into your drive impact, it doesn't wall splat. You just fall over.
It does not wall splat.
Yeah, it does not.
Ooh, okay, interesting. So Capcom thought about that problem that could have happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
You still get the the damage of the drive impact and the drain on the drive gauge, but that's it. That's all you get.
It still might be useful for pushing the opponent towards the corner and setting it up anyways. And I have seen footage before of the drive impact comboing, but yeah, I was curious about that too. So I'm glad Capcom has thought about that. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Another thing about drive impact is that a lot of people have asked if you could drive impact fireballs on reaction. And it seems very, very difficult. I don't know if it is possible at all. I want to say no, especially on faster fireballs like Ryu's or Guile's, especially.
Okay.
If they're not ready for it, they can still, block it and get pushed to the corner and get drained and all of that. But obviously, it's really dangerous because if they are ready, then they can drive impact you back.
Right. Okay. I noticed the fireballs go quite fast in this game. That could be another thing too.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, you're saying that if a Ryu's really close to you and you see him winding up to throw the fireball, the drive impact won't be fast enough to hit him.
Yeah, that's right. I would say that if the drive impact starts at about as the same time as the fireball, if it's one of the faster fireballs, like I said, like Guile's Sonic Boom, it's not gonna work. You basically have to do it as a prediction, but it does work if you do it as a prediction.
Yeah, I noticed that I guess the drive impact will be more useful against situations where someone's buffering into a fireball. So if a Ryu's going low forward in the fireball, drive impact in that is going to hit them.
Yeah, absolutely. That blows it up really well, yeah. Now, there's been a lot of questions about it in the last impressions video that we just released on the channel. I mentioned the fact that it's very difficult during Burnout to avoid drive impact when you're in the corner, especially when people do it as a meaty or when they do heavy normal into drive impact. And some people correctly brought up, oh, what if you try and throw them, right? Because throw is another option that beats drive impact. But unfortunately, the window of time, the gap between the normal and the drive impact is too small. It doesn't work. And you cannot jump out either. That's another thing that I've tried. I mean, we tried literally everything, I think.
Yeah.
It seems like the only option is to do a super in between. If you don't have a super, there's no options.
Like a level 1 specifically, right? Because most of those are the ones that are invincible, right?
Yeah, or level 3 or anything with invincibility, right? Yeah.
At least you can still use your supers while in Burnout. But I was wondering this myself too, Mir. There's definitely some testing, like especially meaty drive impacts too, I was curious about. But maybe level 1 super is the only thing that's going to save you. Maybe as the meta grows, because you don't always have the luxury of deciding if you want to be in Burnout or not, since getting hit drains your drive meter, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess you have to have the presence of mind to hold on to your level 1 just in case you're put into that checkmate scenario. Otherwise, you're in big trouble, right?
One hope is that you can hold up on wake up maybe, and if they screw up their meaty, you air reset out of the normal and you can throw the drive impact before it comes out. But it's really, a shot in the dark at that point. And if you just let yourself get hit, then you're put in the same situation anyway, so...
Yeah, this situation sounds extremely character-specific, matchup-specific, so we're not going to know until we get training mode with this game.
Right, for sure. In other news, both Drive Impact and Parry are confirmed to be frame 1. We tried to do it on Wake Up. We already knew this, but, you know, we made sure to confirm that. So if someone does a meaty Drive Impact and you do have Drive Gauge, you can always Drive Impact back or parry it. And I guess I should mention that armor works just like it does in Street Fighter V, where if you don't have enough health to armor through something, you will die to the armor.
Yeah. So if you have like a pixel of health left and you use Drive Impact on someone and you have no health, you'll just die. The Drive Impact won't hit.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay,
I guess we can move on to parries, since I've just mentioned them. We're talking about parries on Wake Up, and one thing that we were wondering about was whether or not you can automatically guarantee to get a perfect parry on a meaty when you wake up. If someone does a meaty attack and you're holding parry, it doesn't actually guarantee a perfect parry. You still have to time it.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's easier to time because you're just timing the perfect parry based on your wake up timing, which is consistent, right? So it is still easier to score a perfect parry, but it's not guaranteed.
So you can't just like fall down, hold parry, and if they happen to do a perfect meaty on it, you perfect parry and you punish them.
Yeah, that doesn't work. You just get a normal one.
That's interesting from a coding perspective on taking that out of the game to make sure people can't do that.
Yeah.
I would imagine it works the same way, Mir, when you're recovering from block stun from a block stream.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's, that's true. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
I guess another thing worth mentioning, we saw it before in the footage, but I want to put it out, is the fact that when you parry something, it pushes back both you and the opponent. Normally, you're the defender is the only one that gets pushed back, right?
When blocking attacks?
Yeah, when blocking attacks. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Unless you're in the corner, right? In which case, it is the other way around. But for parry...
One thing I should mention, Mir, about the parry, is that in Street Fighter 3, you know, Capcom didn't want people to get accidental parries, or they wanted to somehow kind of punish option select parries a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was interesting that they made it so that when you tap the parry, the window, right? They changed the window on tapping parries compared to holding down the direction. So it just seems like Capcom had the same, you know, idea where they want to make sure when you see a parry, especially a perfect parry, it's cool and it's intentional, you know, rather than accidental.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially because, I mean, it opens up a lot of opportunities, right? That you have a lot of time to act out of it.
Yeah.
Going back to the pushback briefly, I guess I wanted to mention it because parry is one of the methods that you have to prevent yourself from getting pushed into the corner, as it pushes your opponent back as well. So it's kind of like a way of making sure that you're not just getting bullied and pushed to the corner. So just putting that out there.
So once again, the parry it's not just used as a parry, it's kind of like a barrier.
Yeah, that's a good way of thinking it, yeah, for sure. Okay, then another thing about parries and perfect parries. We've seen before that you could perfect parry fireballs, but we weren't sure what it did, right?
Right.
So like you can see when you perfect parry a fireball that there's the big splash of paint, just like when you have a, you know, like a normal perfect parry with the slowdown and such, except there's no slowdown. But
no screen freeze.
Right, exactly. No screen freeze. But what it does is that you can act out of this state, like this perfect parry, much faster than a normal parry. So normally, when you parry a projectile, you get pushed back a little bit, and then you have to wait for the parry animation to end before acting. But if you perfect parry, there's no pushback whatsoever, and you can act really, really fast. This includes, you know, jumping, attacking, whatever, right? You're just very little recovery.
How did it feel? Did it feel like Street Fighter 3 easy to perfect parry the fireballs, or did it feel tough?
It's not that bad because you can see it coming, right? So the window is still small. So it's probably not as easy as Street Fighter 3. But since you have the visual indication of when the fireball is going to hit you, then it's probably easier than just having to guess the timing on an attack, right?
Right. I think...
Go ahead.
Reason that you still get the benefits of the perfect parry without the screen freeze, I think it would make the matches really sloggy to watch if someone was chucking plasma at you and you kept perfect parrying and the game kept on freezing. Like it wouldn't look good. I think that's why the screen doesn't freeze on projectile.
Sure. I don't think it's just that. It's also the fact that I don't think they want fireballs to be all that weak in Street Fighter 6 because obviously one of the problems in Street Fighter 3 with zoning is that normal fireballs weren't very useful because it was just a way of giving your opponent meter pretty much.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And this way, basically, people cannot just randomly parry projectiles and get a lot of time to punish you. They have to be very deliberate about when they're parrying. Because then, for example, someone does a block string on you that ends in a projectile, and you accidentally perfect parry it, you're probably not going to get a punish. But if you do it intentionally and you're ready for it, then because the no pushback and you can act immediately, maybe you'll be able to score a punish. And that's probably what Capcom's going for.
Right.
Okay, I guess another common question about parrying in general was that if you parry a fireball, or if you parry an attack, can you drive rush out of it? And the answer is you can't. You cannot do that.
You cannot.
You cannot.
Really?
No. So any successful parry, you have to wait for the animation to end before doing any action. So
I did not know that. That is interesting. So just to clarify, Ryu throws a fireball at you. I hold down parry, and still holding down parry, I parry the fireball, and then I press forward 4. Drive rush will not come out.
That's right. Nothing happens.
Wow. Okay. So same reason, I'm assuming, to make sure zoning is not too weak in this game.
Yeah, I think that's the case. Yeah.
Wow.
This is true for normal attacks as well, not just projectiles, as I mentioned. Well, since we were talking about drive rush, let's get some more info about that. When you do a move out of drive rush, it has extra frame advantage. This is true both on hit and block.
And on block.
Yeah. So
are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Did you test this thoroughly, Mirror?
I have. Sure? And it's quite a lot too. When someone does a dashing medium, for example, you're stuck in blocks then for a really long time.
What?
So a great example would be Jury in Street Fighter 6. She has a really good drive rush, by the way, just like she has really good dashes. She does drive rush, standing medium kick. That stupid thing is active forever, and then you are forced to block it as she slides towards you, and then she's plus. It's pretty intense.
So you're saying everyone has Colleen's V-Trigger too?
That's just about right, yeah.
That sounds terrible.
The problem...
I don't like the sound of that.
Okay, so like the way you have to think about it is that, as I mentioned in my first impressions video, is that pressure is actually relatively limited in Street Fighter 6. A lot of mediums are not very plus at all, for example. So drive rush is one way of enabling you to start pressure, because then you get basically a guaranteed frame trap afterwards, right? But it's one attempt, because if you do press another medium, then you're back to normal rules, and that's not very plus at all.
Right. Okay. Wow. That's gonna take some adjustments. I hope there's ways to counter this, you know, ways to stuff people in the drive rush, because the drive rush seems, from me looking at the footage from outside, looks fast. It looks hard to react to.
Well,
and I hope that's not just a game of people just randomly doing drive rush in neutral, and it's, you know, kind of like Street Fighter 5's dashes where they're really hard to react to unless you're completely tunnel visioned on it. No, I hope that's not the case.
In my personal experience, I think it's easier to react to the drive rush than it is to react to normal dashes, because there's a very big visual tell before it's about to happen. There's the green flash, and before that, especially if someone is kind of like fishing for it, if you will, that you can see the parry as well, right? Like not a lot of people are just gonna do drive rush without doing, you know, waiting a little bit in the parry first, because if you run into something like a poke or a fireball, especially, you just, you know, you just get hit. Yeah. Okay. This is not gonna be all that effective, especially against zoners, because there's gonna be a lot of, you know, normals or fireballs on the screen, so you cannot just throw that out. But if the opponent is freezing up a little bit, you know, sitting there, then the drive rush is basically a way of trying to get in, although they can react to it. The way they wanted you to use it is that you see the opponent whiff something, especially a big button, they misspace something, and then you drive rush in, because it freezes time for a split second. It lets you get a punish. Interesting.
Yeah, this is good news for aggressive players.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is, if you want to switch gears to high octane, and yeah, well, there's gonna be a lot of people spamming drive rush. Okay,
yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I guess I should mention that, you know, if someone does something like a Jury standing medium kick, which is very active, if you're neutral jumping, for example, that's not gonna work, as in you're gonna land on their heads and kill them because they're gonna be stuck doing that move for a while. So there are answers to it, and drive impact, of course. I guess another thing worth mentioning about the drive rush buff is that it is timed, so you cannot stay in the run forever. You know, the one that you get out of the drive rush and always get the buff normal. You have to do it relatively early in the drive rush.
Oh. Well, I was just going to say this might affect the Oki then, because I was thinking of using drive rush to create Oki that I otherwise couldn't create with dashes. So if you're saying if I run too long to drive rush and my button doesn't get buffed, then it won't be as rewarding.
Yeah, you would have to time it in a way where you can do it. You have to do it early, pretty much.
Okay. Well, this helps too in neutral too, Mir. If someone's like, full screen and tries to skip neutral, this affects that as well then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Good to know.
And I guess another thing is that if you do fast normals in a row, some people were saying maybe the buff carries over to the, say, for example, the second light that you do in a string, but it doesn't seem to be the case. It's only the first attack.
Okay, so it's pressing a button within a limited frame rather than just a time frame. In that window, everything's buffed.
Yeah,
okay,
that's correct.
That makes sense.
Okay, well, since we talked about offensive mechanics, let's move on to defensive mechanics then. We have backdashes in this game, just like we had in many Street Fighters before, and they're still throw invulnerable from the first frame.
Yay!
Yay! They're not strike invulnerable, before anyone thinks that.
Yay!
Yay! It's very much like Street Fighter 5, except that they don't get counter hit at any point.
Okay.
I think they specifically added that for Street Fighter 5 because of crush counters, right? They wanted you to be able to land crush counters on backdashes. But also, they're never airborne. So what that means is that you never flip out of a backdash.
Juicy.
Yeah.
I like that info, Mir. So this is that's a big deal. So in Street Fighter 5, in really high level play, guys, players would backdash on purpose with the intention of getting hit to actually screw over their opponent, because when you play Street Fighter 5 for too long, you got your meaties dialed in, and what will happen is they backdash, the meaty works but hits them, they flip in the air airborne, and then they press their other button and the player lands and he's like, joke's on you, I wanted to get hit, and punishes you for it. And that was really clunky. I really didn't like that. And yeah, we see it a lot in Street Fighter 5 recently, so they took that out. I like that, Mir.
I guess you can simulate that in Street Fighter 6 by jumping instead, but obviously jumping carries more risk.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so backdashes are specifically for avoiding throws and building distance on wake up, which is still pretty useful, obviously.
When I was breaking down the training mode recently, Mir, when you were gone, and we were looking at, they were showing the frame notches of what can be counter hit, what can't be, just by the colors.
Yeah.
And I noticed, just like in Street Fighter 5, the forward dash also can't be counter hit. So backdash and forward dash now, and the jumps can't be counter hit. So very interesting.
Okay, let's go through some more quickly. Let's see. We have we tested cross-ups in the corner again. If your back is to the corner and you're holding back, there's no way you'll get crossed up.
Are you sure?
I am sure. Yes.
What is it this time, Mir?
However,
I keep hearing conflicting reports.
However, if you hold the other direction, you can still have your opponent, cross you up and end up in the corner.
Are you saying no matter what, you'll always block the correct direction?
No, I'm saying that basically it depends on your distance to the corner. If you're point blank to the corner, like you're touching the wall, if you will, there's no way you can get crossed up if you hold back. But if you walk a little bit forward where the opponent is jumping at you, for example, you can block on the other side. So yes, jumping cross-ups in the corner are not very effective unless you do them really, really early, and then you might as well have done, a normal jump and hit in the front.
Can I ask the question again, Mir?
Yes.
Just to be crystal clear.
Sure.
If I'm in the corner, right in the corner, and I'm holding back the entire time, you cannot jump cross me up.
Yeah. As far as I can tell, no. On Wake Up, it was harder to test, but we couldn't do that.
I would
either.
imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So it looks like, once again, Capcom feels that with the wall splat system, with drive impact, and the burnout, the corner is punishing enough as it is.
Yeah. And
they don't need cross-ups on top of that. I'm sad to see the corner cross-ups go, personally. I'm sure my brother will be very happy. He doesn't like it.
I'm sure a lot of people will be as well.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Talking about knockdowns. Street Fighter 6 only has 2 types of knockdown. You can either normal rise or back rise, and that's it. So comparing this...
Could you clarify that a little bit more?
Okay, so yeah, comparing this to Street Fighter 5. In Street Fighter 5, you have quick rise and back rise, but you also have, you know, like delay rise, where you don't press anything and you stay on the ground. Yeah, no rise. Okay. Which is the same thing that happens for hard knockdowns in Street Fighter 5, right? You stay on the ground.
Right.
That's not in Street Fighter 6. So you only have a quick rise in place, and you can press either buttons. Sorry, not either buttons. You can press 2 punches or 2 kicks, or press back to get the back rise.
Oh, just like in Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to clarify this, if you knock me down and I don't press a thing, I just sit there.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a quick rise automatically.
That's correct. Yeah.
Interesting. And then my other choice is back rise, which is 2 kicks or back, just like Street Fighter 5.
Oh, or 2 punches, actually.
Or 2 punches.
Yeah, okay. Like any combination of buttons, basically.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, another thing about knockdowns is that in Street Fighter 6, there's hard knockdowns again. Except what they do is that they prevent you from back rising, and you basically are forced to quick rise. So again, a hard knockdown forces you into a single type of wake up.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it doesn't make you stay on the ground longer per se. Like, that's not what the hard knockdown does. Is that some knockdowns on counter hit or punish counter are longer. So that could be a little bit confusing because the game doesn't really tell you that they are.
Yeah, interesting. All right.
And another way to get hard knockdowns is when you get a punish counter throw.
Yeah.
Which is the one with the the different camera angle and the extra damage.
So we know you can't back rise that. Okay.
Yeah. And another thing that I found accidentally actually is that you can get punish counter air throws.
Oh, interesting. Does it do like the camera zoom?
Yeah,
in
it changes the
damage
camera. Yeah, it changes the camera and it does extra damage.
Okay.
It seems
That's
pretty
actually
rare, so I don't know what the circumstances are. I mean, I didn't do it on the recovery of DP or anything. It was just a normal, air throw on a jump in. So maybe it's if you throw the active frames or something. I don't know.
That sounds strong. Like if you were somehow able to anti-air someone, get the double damage throw and get the hard knockdown, that sounds juicy. If you throw them like really close to you.
Yeah, you would get good ulti probably.
Okay. Well, what about the sweeps? Did you write that down?
Yeah, sweeps always cause a hard knockdown on natural hit or counter hit or punish counter or whatever.
So you cannot back rise sweeps.
That's right. Yeah, and most of them you kind of are pretty close to them because they fall in place, I guess. So they did give some Oki, yeah.
Any differences on sweeps on punish counter or counter hit? Any differences?
It seems so, yeah. They have a longer knockdown in that case.
I think I would have to really adjust to that. Only 2 rises. I didn't realize that. I thought there'd be a delay wake.
Yeah,
that's sure.
That's what I thought too. We tried, by the way. We tried holding all the punches, all the kicks, hold the buttons. Like the just didn't work. There seemed to be only 2 rises.
That's good. That's good. You guys tested it. I mean, it sounds like you guys did a lot of work. That's good.
An interesting note here, talking about defensive mechanics, the drive reversal. We had it happen once, and unfortunately we weren't able to test it again. But the drive reversal broke Drive Impact's armor, and it even said armor break.
No. You're lying.
I'm not lying.
No, you guys imagine that.
Unfortunately, I don't have footage for this. That'd be really nice.
Of course, how convenient.
Yeah, how convenient. I have eyewitnesses.
I swear I saw Drive Impact being countered, or sorry, Drive Reversal being countered by Drive Impact. I swear I saw it.
My theory is that it only happens during the early frames of Drive Impact, but I cannot be sure for a fact. We'd have to test this during the beta. That's the only way.
That's a big nerf.
Yeah.
Or sorry, that's him compensating for, because we know Drive Reversal can't be thrown, right?
Right.
If the Drive Impact can't beat it either, that's like, I don't know. That just sounds like a huge buff to Drive Reversal.
Well, I'll tell you something. Drive Reversal has like really bad range. It doesn't go anywhere. So you have to be quite close to the opponent. But isn't it
character specific? They have different Drive Reversal moves.
Yeah, but overall they don't seem, the ones that are in the game right now, they don't seem to go very far.
Yeah, until we see Dhalsim and Zangief.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I guess another thing is that some people were worried that crouching DPs might be gone. They're still in Street Fighter 5, like in Street Fighter 6, like they were in Street Fighter 5. So
why would they be gone?
I don't know, but some asked, so here's the answer.
Okay. Alright,
And I'll throw in this. It's an advantage of classic controls over modern controls. Oh, but you'll have to watch another video for this.
Oh, teaser. I like that, Mir.
Yeah.
I like that.
Right. Talking about similarities with Street Fighter V, the landing recovery seems to be the same as Street Fighter V, which is when you hit a button in the air, you have some frames of landing recovery, so you get hit. You can get hit on the ground. And
trip guard?
Yes, trip guard. Now talk about confusing terminology.
You purposely didn't say trip guard, Mir. I know you did.
I know. I was trying to avoid it. But yeah, I mean, regardless of how you want to interpret the term trip guard, we're referring to the landing recovery.
In the comments, gonna leave a message.
Something that is quite different from Street Fighter V is that Street Fighter 6 has a lot of trades. Normals trade with each other very, very often. Especially because there's not a lot of situations where you're massively plus. So this happens quite a bit. And it's going to be important both on defense and offense to keep this in mind, because you can get trade combos going, especially if a heavy trades with a light. Obviously, one of the two parties is going to recover much faster than the other. And I personally accidentally did trade combos, so it can definitely happen.
Yeah, I mean, I remember stuff like that in Street Fighter 4. In Street Fighter 5's case, there's some specific stuff, but it's with special moves, you know, like Balrog trading, you know, with his straight punch or whatever, you know, or Blanca trading with his electricity, things like that. So now that buttons are going to trade more often, then yeah, I guess that's going to be more prevalent on learning those weird niche situations. It's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be important for pressure, because you're going to run into situations where maybe you're doing your medium block string and then they're mashing lights, and you're going to trade because there's no priority system. And you might be able to sneak in some extra damage if you're ready. So that's going to be important for sure.
Okay.
Okay, finally, the most important mechanic, I think, worth discussing, which is le pièce de résistance, Burnout. We got Burnout. All right, so there were questions as to whether or not Burnout affects frame data on hit. So if you get your, more combos in Burnout, and it doesn't. Burnout doesn't affect frame data on the hit, so your combos are going to be exactly the same.
Thank goodness.
However, it affects frame data on block. Everything is...
No.
Yes, everything has much more blocks done. Well, I say much more. I actually don't know how much it is, but it seems a bit... like a bit extra. I want to say +2, maybe +3.
No. Are you sure? Did you guys test this thoroughly?
We have tested this thoroughly. And
you have footage on it?
I have footage on it, yeah. We had the situation was Gal doing standing medium punch, crouching medium punch as a block string, and Ken doing crouching light kick. And without Burnout, you get stuffed every time. The crouching light kick stops you. But in Burnout, you get stuffed, like Ken gets stuffed. So, and you can visually see it. We kind of had this as a guess, because visually you can see the characters recoil much more in their guard animations and such. Yeah. And at first we were like, oh, maybe it's just visual, but no, it does seem to be the case. And no one at the event really knew about it until we tested it, and then we started telling everyone because it was so important.
Oh man, I don't like this, Mir. This is too complicated. I feel like if you can do more block stun on an opponent on Burnout, and you get more block stun advantage on Drive Rush, I feel like this is complicated, frame data wise. That'd be pretty overwhelming to have to know the differences on that.
Yeah, it's really interesting because Burnout is already a very punishing state. As we mentioned before, it's really, really scary in the corner. You don't have access to any of your drive mechanics. If someone does a drive impact on you in the corner and you get hit, you get stunned. So it's really, really bad. And on top of that, you have to take even worse pressure. And I guess sometimes it happens that both people are in Burnout and everyone's like, haha, this is like ST. Everyone says that. It's like a joke that I've heard many times.
I literally said that.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's pretty tough. Getting out of Burnout.
I don't know how I feel about this, man. I don't like this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's a lot of problems inherent with Burnout. Like, for example, since you cannot do much about drive impact, it's very easy to get pushed towards the corner. just by eating
Exactly.
drive impacts on block. So
Exactly.
I don't know. It's hard to say, and that's another reason, by the way, why if someone does a heavy normal into drive impact in the corner, it's another reason why you cannot jump out or throw it, is because there's extra blocks done.
But this could be bad for even the person who's on the offense, because I might have a button that I can perfectly tick throw into, but if I'm doing more blocks done, I might throw my whiff if I don't know.
I guess so.
For example.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. It just sounds complicated. Let's hope it's a bug.
Bug. No, I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it'll be changed in the future for all we know. But as it stands right now, that's how it works.
Well, be aware of this, guys, in the beta.
Yeah.
Be aware.
And before they change it for the beta. Okay, well, I mean, we talked for plenty of time, so let's wrap this up. I think this is more than enough info for people to you know, like, think about, get their the little gears turning in their brains.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mir, for like taking your time of actually just enjoying Street Fighter 6, but taking that time to take people's questions and actually test things for us and get that info for us, and making that heroic sacrifice.
Yeah.
Of you know, I mean, your playtime. Because I know it must be frustrating to constantly have to line up, you know, and get on the station and record and test it, you know, especially without a training mode. So really appreciate that.
Yes. I mean, it was still very interesting for me as well to find out about all of this. So, you know, it was less of a chore than it might seem. But we have more stuff that we found out about character-specific, you know, situations, and more stuff about modern controls as well. But I mean, this video is already long enough, so it'll be for another one.
Oh, yeah.
So make sure to stay tuned for that.
All right, cool. All right, guys, let us know in the comments below what you think about all of these new discoveries, and me and Mir will get back to you with some more, you know, extra discoveries and stuff we can talk about through EGX. So appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Bye bye.
See you guys.